So you're wondering, is the REVO Max the best surfboard released in 2024? Well, spoiler alert, I reckon yes. Because what Tomo has done with this surfboard is essentially make what I think all surfboards will be in the not so distant future. There are 5 main reasons the Tomo REVO Max is the best surfboard of 2024 as well. And we're going to get right into it. But please, if you enjoy my content, I appreciate everyone if you could smash like, hit subscribe. Let me know down below. Have you tried the REVO Max? Do you plan on trying it? Is it overhyped? Is it underhyped? No interest at all? Maybe you're stoked. Let me know what you think down below. Audio is great, video is great per usual. The number one reason the REVO Max is the best surfboard of 2024. First reason, durability. While setting up the stream, I literally was under the desk moving that light back there that makes the fancy colors. I'm under the desk. I'm moving the light. I feel a kick, or I kick, and I look back, and the REVO Max is falling fast. And I had a quick glance back in time to when I was doing the REVO Max versus Seaside live stream, and the same thing happened. Both boards fell. I grabbed the REVO Max. The poor Seaside and Beyond got dinged by my desk. It was pretty traumatic, but the REVO Max took a mean sideways dive, and I mean, it went down hard. I was pretty scared. I felt the board hit the ground. I looked. It did a little bounce. The fins hit it. It was a wipeout. I checked the board. I did not feel any dings. There should have at least been some kind of something somewhere for a board to just fly over and to smack these hardwood floors, thin carpets, hardwood floors, and to not even have really any indication of any kind of severe trauma. That's a win. Especially when surfboards are pretty brittle. I mean, I know epoxy in general is a little harder, but that, comes with the stiffness. But I think what this Ibolic Volcanic has done is it's created like a really light board that is really durable, because I just tested it by kicking the board and it hitting the hardwood floors. So, and I definitely have hit little things here and there, and still no dings, knock on wood. But the durability of the FIREWIRE REVO Max, I think it's potentially unmatched, unless you're going against like a Torque or like maybe a Surf Tech or some kind of like gnarly epoxy. But essentially, it's supposed to mimic carbon fiber, the volcanic laminate over top, and carbon fiber is extremely strong. But it's still really light, because it has kind of like what the Helium has, but they call it Ibolic. I think it might essentially be the same blank as Helium, but they don't have the parabolic rails, which means they don't have the wooden rails going around it. They instead have like a super condensed foam that goes around the board, and then one condensed foam that goes straight through the board as a stringer. And it's like literally foam, so it's like just a super condensed foam, the same thing that the board is made out of, foam. That's just very much more condensed. Now, what this helps, I guess, do is makes it a little less dense, I think, because it's foam, so it does have a little more flex than wood. I mean, in terms of like the pressurized. But also what it may do is it may make it less easy to ding, just because it's a little less hard. It has a little more give to it. I actually also haven't noticed any pressure dings. I've had the board for about a month. I've ridden it heaps. Again, I appreciate FIREWIRE for letting me demo it for this long and let me really put it through the ringer, because I had no interest in this board at all. None. I mean, I did after they explained what it was, but looking at any REVO, any EVO, I always thought, like, I have no interest. But the number one thing, the first reason why it's the best board of 2024, the durability, it's no joke. I mean, again, go test it for yourself if you have any of the similar boards that are the Ibolic Volcanic. Just the lightness and the durability is just, it's really nice. So that's number one. You can't take a fiberglass board and just throw it on hardwood floor and not expect it to not get dinged at all. Reason number two that this is the best board of 2024 is it's got to be the unique shape, the snowboard shape I've been claiming. The essentially same shape up here as down here, which, again, like once you get used to this shape, it really feels like this is what all boards should be like. They should have a symmetrical area up here, symmetrical back there, because when you're up here and your weight's all up here and you're pushing here, why would you want this to dig in the water more than when you're back here? Especially because when you're up here for a reason. You're trying to plane through the water, so you're going to have pressure up here. The more float you can have right here when you're trying to plane through the water, once you're up a little bit, especially like when you're in the barrel. And if you've seen some of Tomo's later videos when he's getting barreled, he's like, and he's on the 6.0, this is the 6.3, he's way up here, and that's where the board is like really sick, because the spine right here, you can pretty much see it popping out. It's still up here, so it's kind of like you have a fin right here when you're up here. So you're surfing up here, you have a fin right here, and it's like, that makes the most sense ever, because you're in a lot of control. It doesn't have that kind of weird going in, the nose goes in, and you're trying to like not dig your nose. That's what's funny is for a board that has such a big platypus nose, you don't end up digging your nose that much. It's like kind of a catch-22. But the snowboard shape this is the future of surfboards, because, I mean, think about it. You don't see snowboards shaped like a surfboard. Even directional snowboards are still going to be kind of symmetrical, and a directional snowboard is meant to be ridden one direction. You're not going to go switch too often on a directional snowboard. With a surfboard, you're never going to go switch, so it makes sense why they've ignored up here for so long. But I think what this makes you realize, especially because once you go to the longer shapes of this, that now it's like a longboard. I guess the longboards do have more of the snowboard feel to them in terms of the shape. But because of this area up here, and it's still so thin, and it's still a short board, it just creates this feeling of stability that really is just amazing. And then you go on a board like the Mashup that has like a pointier nose, and you can't just be up there and be chilling. You're going to have to focus more and be more on your back foot. So really the unique shape of the whole board, especially up here, is why it's the best board of 2024. I mean, you don't see, now you do see more boards like this, but they're based more off, I think, the EVO and the REVO. Let me know in the chat too, what do you guys think? I mean, I'm really not trying to be clickbaity here. Like, I really do think this unique board is like kind of like instantly goated, because once you get on it and you really start riding it a bunch, you're like, oh wow, like I don't want to ever lose this thing up here. And then really quick too, when you're surfing on this board and just like paddling and putting your hands up like this, I'm still feeling if I dinged it when I fell, and I still haven't found any dings. When you're riding it and you're just holding the board like this, like when you're on your stomach, this is like fun to do, because you're not used to being able to grab a board up here. You gotta worry about the nose a little bit being sharp. It's not as like symmetrical, and it's almost like an Apple product. How it's shaped, it's really eloquent from a user standpoint too. Excuse me, because when you're up here paddling, you can kind of like put your hands here, and just like feeling around here is like a lot of fun. I don't know what it is about it. It's just because it's you're not used to being able to put your hands like this when you're just chilling and duck diving. It's like a very friendly outline that when you duck dive and hold it and just put your hand everywhere, it's kind of like the whole board really works well together, and there's not like any off-limit spot like the nose on a normal board. It stabs you in the eye, or you can't really just put your hand on it. This, you're probably okay if you get stabbed in the eye. It's not gonna, it'll still mess you up a little bit, but you're probably not gonna lose your eye. And just this part right here is just something about it is just really fun to just grab, feel around. It gets nice and thin here, but it doesn't get like paper thin. The nose gets like as thin as like not Rob Machado's tail. Like Rob Machado's tail would get way more thin than this, his boards, but Tomo has kind of kept it with a little bit of thickness, which I actually think works well because I don't know why it works well. I think it just keeps it more floaty essentially because the thinner it gets, it's going to be able to dig in the water more. That's why Rob Machado's tails are all very thin because you can dig them in the water. The mashup's a perfect example of that. The tail gets like paper thin on each side of the swallowtail, and you can really dig and pivot. Tomo decided not to go that thin on his tail here, but he doesn't really need to because he created the quad concave V, and that'll be my next thing. So we're going to move on from the unique shape, which this is kind of part of the unique shape, to reason number 3. It's the best surfboard of 2024 is the quad V concave, which is this thing right here. And let's see if we can get this in focus. So we kind of can. So it is, you can kind of see it here, but what it is it's pretty much dips here, comes up here, dips here. So it's 4, is that a ding? No, it's not a ding. So there's 4 little divots here. So it's pretty much like 1, 2, 3, 4. A double V would just have a spine, and then 1, 2. Single would just be flat. This has 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that does is it makes it a magical device that you didn't know you needed. Especially because with the twin fin, it acts as a back fin. So that's why I was gonna make a reason for a con, no back fin slot, as you see. But really, I actually like the no back fin slot because it forces you to not have to think, oh, do I need a back fin slot or not? Because no, you do not need a back fin slot. That's the whole point of this thing. This little indent and these channels. Channels like this are pretty popular on twin fins because they act like a fin. Anything that's up or down in the water is going to be like a fin. So it's almost like this is a quad setup because there's 2 big indentions here right behind the other fins. And then almost like a little tiny twin fin. So I'm claiming it's almost a 5 fin. Just the whole, these back fins are much smaller, and obviously they don't exist, but they act like there were 5 fins here, but it's just a lot smaller. I'm gonna see what Steven has to say really quick. Keeping it real for the people, my man. Appreciate it. You gotta do, you gotta do, right? You gotta do, you gotta do. But and I am having my one Trivana. Don't tell anyone. My one Trivana 16 ounce. It's called Trivana. It's named after me. My nickname is Trevis. It's Trivana. So don't tell anyone, but 1 beer every week or every other week. It's very delicious. But you don't really see the Quad V. I lost some people. Sorry, guys. I promise I'm drinking the rational ales next time. But you don't see many. I don't even know if this is in any other boards besides this. I think it is exclusive to Tomo and his shape. I think it's even exclusive to this shape. Probably should have done a little more research on this, but I know in his other boards, Okay, so he has it on the Vader, and yeah, it has it on the Vader. So maybe one or two others, but this one I think really works the best because the Vader, I believe, has 5 fins, a 5 fin setup, and it's very short. Yeah, it has 5 fins. It's very short. So this is where it really, I think, works the best because the board is so long that it might even be like a little more indent. Like this right here, the side concaves are very indentioned. I mean, you can see in the thing, like that's a good bit of depth here and here. It really digs in there, and then these are a little more subtle. So it's super interesting because, and then with the giant spine that comes down, I mean, you could try and ride this without fins and see kind of what happens. Because that's how hilarious the shape is. And I mean, there's even, the wooden boards that are circular and have a like that. Back in the day, they had no fins, and you could still. I mean, they'd be squirrely as all, but you could still ride them. This is almost kind of like that. But then let's go to the next reason. So, what are we on? Reason number 4 or 5? 1, 2, 3. I think we're on reason number 3. I can't remember anymore. But the next reason, the next reason why the board is the best board of 2024 is these new fins that Tomo created for the board. Trust me, like I'm a pretty big twin fin guy, and these Tomo keels are the truth. They are lit, as the kids are saying. They are the goats. Because what they do is they are kind of like Ramachadas, or they're pretty much keel fins, but what Tomo did is he made them a little more upright. So, then I gotta dig a little bit. So the fins took more damage than the board when the board fell. But the fin is a little more upright, as opposed to like most keels do look like this, but they're gonna be even maybe a little wider back, and then like a little less upright here. They might even be like a little more curved, or just like not as. It's kind of hard to explain. I wish I had another fin. I mean, the Album twin fins are very upright, and they have no keelness. Keel fins are usually very wide as well. So when you look at these, though, you're like, oh, they're keel fins. I mean, it even says Tomo keel fin. But the fact that I could ride a medium size, and I'm 175 right now. I did eat some Thanksgiving stuff the last couple of days, so I'm kind of like pretty large and in charge right now. The fins, like for me, I wouldn't even really want to have the larges unless like I needed the extra hole for really big waves. I'm pretty sure Tomo's riding the larges, and I think me and him are around the same size. But when you're riding like just normal waves, and it's not like overhead Lennox head, having the kind of medium, the smaller ones, you can really throw the board around more. And because of all the space on the board, and it's a snowboard, you really appreciate just a little bit of looseness you can get, and you don't have to try as hard because there is enough hold somehow with all the other things going on here. Rich G asks, best for who, Rich G? I'm going to say best for 35 and up and want more length of board. And you are an intermediate and above. So this isn't like a beginner board, and this isn't really, I mean, I would say you have to be surfing for at least 3 to 5 years, and like you're good on most boards. Like you can ride kind of like a shorter board at this point, because the board does require a little bit of walking around. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to like know how to ride a long board and a short board, because this really is the best of both worlds. And which brings me to my next reason. This is certainly in the like 10 reasons. I might just change it to 10 reasons or whatever many. I'll just change the title to that. But another reason why it's the best board is because it's like so versatile. It's the ultimate daily driver. Like usually like the FIREWIRE shapes lately, they've kind of become so perfect in their little section of the quiver that, like, say you have a sweet potato and it's pretty small and crappy, and like you want the sweet potato. Then it's a little bigger, you probably want like the mashup with their Machado Cotto. Then it gets even bigger, and then you need, the S Boss or the Dominator. Like the REVO Max can just ride all of that, and it can ride all of it really good. So for the FireWire current lineup and like their like main little lineup, this like I think actually has the most range. What throws you off though is the twin fin, and if you're not a twin fin convert yet, this would be a great board to become addicted to twin fins, because I've been riding this board in a lot of small waves, but then I also have been riding it in bigger waves, and it actually does great in both. It probably its ideal spot is, I think on the site it says 2 to 8 foot, which I would agree. That's exactly the perfect ideal wave for this. I surfed a very famous wave in Southern California recently, and it was really good. It was waist ahead and super fun, as good as it gets. It was like going off, similar to like Outer Banks, North Carolina, wedgie A-frames, super fun. And the board was like just absolutely lighting up, most fun ever. And you get so used to the hold. Yes, like you can release some. Just the thinness of when the wave does get kind of good, it just keeps its speed, and you don't get bogged down at all. Especially, this is when the front here really excels too, because the waves get bigger, and when you want to get some more speed, you can pump and then kind of jump up here and kind of drive in the line more up here, and then not have to go all the way back to your turn. You have so much speed already that even if you're only back here, you can still turn it pretty hard. So the fact that it's a daily driver and its versatility is another reason why it's like right now the best surfboard, because it really, they say the Quiver Killer daily driver, but this for me, like the other daily driver would probably be the Machado Cotto, which I think that board can cover the most range. But this has less liters. So it kind of feels like this is 6'3" and only 35 liters. The Machado Cotto is 5'10" and 37.5 liters or 38 liters maybe. So the Machado Cotto is going to be a little more boaty and even a little more buoyanty, which could be nice. But this is actually going to get through the water a little smoother and actually turn a little easier. Because Rob's fins on the Machado Cotto, they are great, and I think they're perfect. But I like to size up the boards a little bit, so for me the 5'10" is perfect. But I do notice it's not as super throwy as I want it to be, like this board is. This board, you can really throw it, and it just does that great. But also it does roundhouses really good, which is interesting, because sometimes with twin fins, roundhouses can be a little weird because the board wants to kind of slide out, and it doesn't want to hold when you're pushing on the bottom turn to come back up and revert into the wave and come back down. The revert can go well, but if you can't roundhouse bottom turn into the revert and get speed off the backside bottom turn up, you're going to have problems. You're going to have issues. But the REVO Max, somehow it just holds it very nicely with, like, he calls these the power keels, I think. They're essentially a mixture of power upright twin fin mixed with the glide keel fin. And you can really feel it, and that's where you can really feel the best of both worlds is on the roundhouses, because it just roundhouses like really fun. And it's probably my most fun move to do on the board. Because again, you have the slickness of no back fin, but then the push of like the keel, and then once you start doing the roundhouse, this kind of holds it, and then the uprightness holds it a little bit too. And then you throw it into the whitewash, it still lets it release when you want it to. I don't know, it's like some kind of elf magic or wizardry. I don't know how it's exactly working, but it just rides really good, and it can do that in a knee to thigh high wave, or it can do it in a nice big chunky wave. Let's see. We are getting Yes, we're getting kind of through the pros here. I mean, I'm gonna say another like great reason why I think it works best for the older crew, or even like in Tomo's initial video, he's representing this as kind of like his board that got him back on the water. The extra length, and that it's not over volumed. Um, Even though I'm one of the cons, I'm going to say a few cons at the end, but one of them being I think it could have a little more volume. But the fact that it's 6'3" and only 35 liters means that for normal people that don't want to like over volume it, that's going to be perfect because most 6'3s that are a mid length twin board could be 42, 43 volume. Think about all the other FIREWIRE boards in the 6'2 versions of like the sweet potato. It's like 50 liters, and the 6'2 version of the Machado Cotto, if there's even one, it's getting up to the mid 40s. This keeps it thin enough or volumed less enough that it is still really skimmy and maneuverable and doesn't get like the over volume feel of like kind of being too on top of the water. So that part's really sick because even Tomo's 6-foot version's 31 liters. So that ends up being like pretty much a shortboard literage. 31 liters is probably the max of people's liters. I mean, I like tons of liters. I don't go below 34. But with this, the board is so long that you actually don't need as many liters. And that's where back in the day, before we were all obsessed with the volume, you actually cared a lot more about the length of the board and like the width and the thickness. And especially the length, because if the board was only 5'6", it was just so short and you didn't know how many liters it was that it was like obvious you were going to just sink it and like have to have your neck up. But this is so long. Back in the day, this has a feeling of like a 1990s board where it's stretched out, it's very thin the whole way, how boards used to be. And that's why, because a long 6'3" that Andy Irons would ride could be 28 liters, 29 liters, because it's thin and long and not as like compressed. When you pick the board up, you're like, oh, this doesn't even feel like 35 liters. It's very thin. You're like, is this going to even do what I need it to do? But then when you're paddling, and that's what I was saying earlier about the nose and the friendliness, because you are sinking a little bit, because it's right at the cusp for me where I'm a little sinking, and it's like perfect essentially for my short board to have 35 liters. But you're sinking just enough where this still stays above the water. And that part's great because the epoxy mixed with a little bit of extra, I guess, stiffness, even though it doesn't feel stiff when you're riding it, and the nose not actually going in the water when you're paddling, that 35 liters at such a longer length, and compared to how modern boards are volumed out today, ends up being perfect. I'd be super interested if any of you guys are getting the bigger versions, because then you could probably really start to see like kind of the benefits of getting like the longer mid-length board that actually has like more volume, and especially for like older folks or guys who just want max paddle power. I think the 6'9", let's see, has max. Let's see what the other volumes are for the board. Yeah, the 6'9" is 46 liters. Okay, it actually does get pretty. Okay, so it's actually kind of a crazy upscale. The 6'9" has 46.9 liters of volume. So the 7.0 has 53 liters. So in actuality, once you start scaling this board up, it definitely competes with all the other mid lengths in terms of volume. I thought initially maybe it didn't get as max volumed out, but the Seasound and Beyond 7-foot is 45-ish liters. This 7-foot is 50 something, 53 liters, and it's sold out on the FIREWIRE website. So is the 6'9". So I think those bigger options are particularly sick for like the older guy or girl who just wants like a really big mid-length but doesn't want to ride a longboard. This is going to be sick because it's still so thin. I really wonder how those actually ride, because I wonder if the thickness even tangibly feels thicker, because this is just so crazy thinned and refined and stays thin that you'd almost think, how is he packing in that much more liters? But I think how he does it is because the nose stays so wide that really you're just adding like another half of the board, or not half, like another foot of board, but it's this just getting extended up a foot. So I'm sure right here, that's, 10 liters, 10, 20, 30. So another 10 liters, because you're not taking you're taking this whole thing and pretty much getting a whole nother part up here, because this width doesn't get, this can almost be like a square, because it's not that much of a nose at all. So that's definitely another reason why it's the sickest board, because it has these sizes that are actually better for, I think, the demographic of what usually mid-lengths are for. Especially, like, don't tell anyone, but I'm 37, and like I've been in the mid-length game for a few years now. Riding bigger boards for almost maybe 10 years now, like a long time. But I definitely remember even 5 years ago, like no one was buying mid-lengths. Like they weren't in the shops. If you were under 50, you didn't look at mid-lengths. There wasn't really a market for it. But then I think what happened is maybe the YouTubes and the people riding the mid-lengths made them more popular. So now I think there's going to be more of these kind of shapes where it's like kind of between a mid-length and a short board, and the lines are getting a little more blurred. And now riding a mid-length isn't as lame, because it's more part of the surf culture currently now, and it's kind of more cool. And you see these like style masters riding mid-lengths, and you just can't really do that kind of surfing on a small board. So we got Sam is a Dill DOH. Oh, you're like Pelican and me, where you say funny stuff and I gotta say it aloud. Looking for a pipe board. Is this the one? Oh wow, for pipe. Perhaps yes. Maybe if you got this and this could be a sick pipe board, actually, for sure. Now that you're saying that, especially with the nose, and Sam is a Dill DOH. If you go watch Tomo riding it at Lennox Head, it was in the premiere video. Oh, hello too. It was in the premiere video of the board. He's riding the 6.0, and it's like pumping Lennox Head. It's like 8 to 10 foot. I think it looks like gnarly big Lennox Head. And he's doesn't seem to be sliding out. My only issue with pipeline would be, can you even ride like a twin fin pipeline? Are those guys riding twin fins? Is that enough hold for, I have ridden pipeline, it's been a while, but is there enough hold in a twin fin itself when you're making that drop and you need to have that pressure to push on? That's my only if. So if you can somehow rent it or give it a try before you pull the trigger. But I think it would perform sick, definitely. Unless it was the biggest of days and the most hollow, throwiest of waves. Because the one other part about this is sometimes the pointy nose can help when it's a very top to bottom. I didn't notice too much of a catch here on the nose during a top to bottom takeoff. But if it's like a really big wave sucking up, I can see maybe a little bit of water trying to grab right here. Whereas when there's nothing here and it's space, it's air, the water is nothing to grab. So the pointy nose actually does a better job of digging in and coming out of the water. Oh, here we go. We got Kevin. Kevin's tuning in. He's got some hot information, it looks like. He says, I'm 57. I have the 7.0. My wave count doubled easily. I was riding a 6.2 38 liters. That 7.0 is a wave hog. I love it. It has great paddle power and turns easy because it is so light. Praise him. Praise the REVO Max. You just said exactly what I've said in the whole video. Like, See, it's interesting how it competes against like a 6'2" shortboard because it rides like a 6'2" shortboard. I mean, right? And you're 57. Okay, so I think this is the perfect demographic of what the board's for. Like the older person who wants the wave count, but just doesn't want to be on the 80-liter longboard essentially, but maybe likes having some of this up here. Whereas a lot of mid lengths, once they get big enough, they end up being kind of like a giant fish, like the Seaside and Beyond, or they end up being a fun board or a longboard. The reason I've always loved fun boards and longboards is because they have kind of this nose. And you can go right here. So I'm kind of used to this shape, but you're not marketing a longboard or a fun board as like a step up or a performance board. You're marketing it as like a cruisy kind of board. So I appreciate the talking, Kevin. Thanks for your insight. Read Kevin's comment, y'all, because this is exactly what I've realized too. It's definitely like a wave hog. Like you feel like you're like you almost like one time I was surfing. Where was I surfing? Was it Morocco? I got to surf like Tangier and Agadir and stuff. No, actually, it might have been Indonesia. It was Indonesia, and I was super young. I think it was Sumbawa. No, it was Morocco because I remember it's a point break, and I just kept like catching waves. So I kept paddling back out, and I wasn't cutting people off. I wasn't burning people. I was just catching lots of waves. It's the kind of surfer I am. I'm more scrappy. I catch a wave. I just keep going. And I remember one of the guys coming up to me is like, "You catch too many waves, too many." And it was kind of funny because what he was saying was like, just because you can catch waves, like maybe you shouldn't just catch all the waves. Like just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. But what's funny is this board, like, it almost doesn't give you the option. Because you see the wave coming, someone else misses it, you're like, I just caught one, but I'm not going to let the wave go unridden. That's what happened to me a bunch lately is like, have the board, people are missing waves, and I'm like, well, I can catch it. Like, I'm not going to let the wave go unridden, so I'm going to go. And then I'll go, then I'll catch it. And like, so you have the 7.0, so damn, so your board's 57 liters, Kevin. Do you think, Kevin, if you're still with us, do you like all that volume? Like it feels great. And do you have the large twin fins or the medium twin fins? See if he gets back to us. Because that is, and can you duck dive that thing? Can Kevin duck dive his 7.0? You probably can, because I can duck dive my 8.0 longboard, which is probably 70-ish liters. So I mean, it takes a little bit of like maneuvering, but what you were saying, like I agree. And this is going to be another reason why, besides the durability, it is the lightness of the board. It's extremely light. It's actually like mind-bogglingly, is that a word? Light. I saw, shout out Mike Raven, I saw he got the 5.63. I think because of me, no big deal. But when he got his box and he like picked up the box, he was like, oh my God, this thing is like so light, even in the box. And that's what I couldn't believe either. I was like, and I have the mashup and I've used other volcanic helium and helium. The internet does say, maybe I need to just double check with like FIREWIRE and Chris Crow or the actual FIREWIRE peeps, but to me, this does feel lighter than straight up helium. And if you only have foam, the board doesn't have any wood at all. The helium does have wood. I mean, the helium does have a whole wood stringer. I'm pretty sure wood weighs more than super condensed foam. So this board, it could actually be lighter if there's a helium version of it as well. Or they might be so close that it doesn't matter that much. But to me, this definitely feels like super light. But I think what happens is because it feels so light, it's kind of like LFT. That FIREWIRE is discontinuing. But when you surfed LFT, it had enough of the dig in the water plus the lightness that it was really nice. And I really like the heliums, but the helium, once you're like really flying and the waves get a little bigger, it can be a little out of control-y. Whereas with this, you feel a lot more in control. Due, I think, to the volcanic, which is their substitute for carbon. So instead of a carbon fiber sheet laminate going over top and just sealing, this is the basalt, like volcanic material they call it. That does the same thing, but it's better for the environment. And it might be lighter, but the dark arts boards are extremely light. So I don't quote me on that. I'm not sure the lightness of each, but long story short, it's super light. When you're surfing it, it's just like it feels like you're riding a helium board, but it actually has a little bit more of the stiffness in a positive way though, not in a I'm bogging way. The board's gonna combat the water and not get thrown off because of the extra bit of stiffness. The condensed foam they use, it might be like so condensed that it is heavier than wood, and maybe that's why it's not technically lighter than helium, full helium. But it's super light. It's like ridiculously light. It feels great in hand and it feels great paddling. The material, like stomping on it too, it feels really nice. I mean, I got to shout out Torque, which is a cool company, but stepping on a Torque board when you're riding it kind of sucks. It's very hard, and it almost hurts your toes. When your toes hit and I don't ride tail pads often, so my toes are hitting the Torque material, and it'd be like as stiff as like a piece of wood. Like this wood desk is Torque. When you look underneath Torque's top sheet, it's like a painted coat of some sort. There is wood. Torque might even be like a tiny layer of wood over top of everything or something, because that's what it feels like to me when you're stepping on it. There's no give at all. Matt Parker from Album talks about pressure dings. That's why pressure dings and give in a board necessarily aren't the worst, besides maybe cosmetically. You want the board to have some give. When it doesn't have any give, it feels like a Torque board, and it's just so hard and stiff, and there's no give when you're pushing on it, that it's like hitting a very flat, solid object. This somehow has give. Even pushing on it right now, you can feel something happening. It's not like pushing on a piece of wood. So the glass, the volcanic glass, has some kind of a little bit of flex. It's not. It'd be nice to have a board in the dark arts versus a board in the Diabolic Volcanic to kind of compare the two. Oh yeah, so now that we went through a lot of we got Kevin back. I'm stoked. I was going to go into some cons. There is a few cons, not really, but you have to say some cons, or I'm just a total like shill or whatever. So Kevin says, I have the large fins, although I'm only 153 pounds, so it works great. Okay. With the bigger board, I could see that being good, because the board's so big, you kind of need bigger fins. You can duck dive the board as long as it's not too big. Perfect. Yep, that's exactly like my 8.0 fun board from WRV, Wave Riding Vehicles. Shout out. When it gets kind of big and gnarly, that's when you just can't get low enough. But this board's so light, if you get tossed around, you could still kind of hold it probably, or just luckily throw it away. I'm in San Diego, and our winter is about to start. Well, Kevin, there's a chance I live in a similar area as well, maybe the same area. I just have to be a true YouTuber and not dox myself. But you're right. Our winter is coming, as the meme says. And I did wear booties for the first time today, and it actually felt amazing. Those booties felt great. I remember last winter, I was like, oh, suddenly I hate booties. But today the booties felt really good, and it did help a lot, because the water has finally gotten cold in San Diego. And by cold, I mean 59-ish. Cool, Kevin. Well, maybe shoot me a text sometime. Maybe we can get a shred. And the one spot I was talking about earlier starts with a B, and sometimes nude people hang out there. And it was really good last weekend if you were there. Yeah, on Saturday and Sunday. I was there on Sunday. So Sunday at the nude beach was sick, and the REVO Max was like the perfect board. Yeah, so Kevin answered the questions that I asked him, so thank you. I appreciate that. Now we have to talk about a few cons. I know the title didn't say it, but I know people are leaving. Sorry, guys, we got to do it. So one thing I wouldn't mind, but now that I'm seeing like how it does get more volumed as you get bigger, I wouldn't mind just having like 37, 38 liters, just a few more liters. Even Mike Raven was kind of saying that, like, it wouldn't be bad to have a few more liters, I think, because it is so big at this point where it's like, why not just a couple more liters? 35, again, my mashup's 5'9", 34, and I'm at the point now where I'm like, all right, I don't want to go less than that, than 34. This board, it's like, when it's a small lazy day is when I wouldn't mind it having 2 or 3 more liters, because then it could like be the ultimate groveler and then also be sick when it's bigger. It's not being marketed as like a groveler. I still have not seen it once been called a groveler. It's like a step up twin, performance twin, mid-length mini Simmons, but I still haven't seen the word groveling in it. Maybe it's not cannibalized the other models, but I think because it is naturally a groveler due to it being a mid-length and due to probably most people going for like the bigger sizes because they see the 6'3". Pretty much the 6'3" is probably like the exact cutoff for like someone like Mike Raven or Tommy Surfs or me. I mean, Tommy Surfs could probably even ride the 6'0", probably would, but where it's like pretty much a replacement for the shortboard. Whereas other people, like Tomo rides his as a shortboard, they probably didn't even consider making like the 6'0" and the 6'3" because they're almost separate than the bigger ones. What's funny too is you notice it goes 6'0" to 6'3" is 31 liters to 35 liters. So now it does make sense that every 3 inches it goes up like 5 liters. But then it starts to really get crazy once you go up more. It goes up more exponentially than other shapes. Especially from the 6'9" to the 7'0", it goes up about 7 liters. So as it gets bigger, it doesn't scale perfectly evenly. It does get a little exponentially thicker volume wise. Let me just make sure my camera's not going to explode here. Oh, we're good. We are good. But I think that's why like they could almost, and here's some more cons I'm going to go into now. So one is I wouldn't mind a few more liters on these smaller shapes. Like if the 6'0" had 35 liters, like that would be really sick. But I do get that most people aren't oversizing their liters that much, and they're already going with the 6'0" board. So it already does have the length, and I think I'm pretty brainwashed by volume now. But again, back in the day, we didn't obsess over volume so much. And there'd be boards that are 6'2" and 26 liters. So it's like, I think a lot of this up here, you don't actually need as many liters because this is just the surface area of the board's helping you float, not necessarily the buoyancy of the whole board. We got Warren in the chat. Thank you, Warren. So he does say, oh, he's late to the party. All right. Late to the party. It's, I forgive you. So Warren says, sorry, late to the party. Looking at my first brand new board. Any comment comparison to the Machado Cotto or totally different vibes? I was just kind of talking about this. I think this board and the Machado Cotto are like the two best daily driver boards right now for FIREWIRE because they can be ridden in like a lot of different conditions. I know the Machado Cotto can ride well in bigger surf too, whereas some of the other boards, either are for bigger server, like the sweet potato gets a little squirrely. Even the mashup gets a little too. I don't know why the mashup can't ride bigger waves. Little squirrely. Even the mashup gets a little too. I don't know why the mashup can't ride bigger waves the best. I think it can. You might just have to know how to ride a crazy out of control board. But like this and the Machado Cotto can ride bigger waves. This though can ride bigger waves better, and it can keep holding as you get bigger. Where the Machado Cotto might kind of max out. The Machado Cotto, depending on how you size it, it might grovel like the tiny stuff a teeny bit better. But it depends on how you size it. What size are you thinking about, Warren? Because I would say, I mean, it also depends on, like, are you my first brand new board? Your first brand new board, okay. I mean, also, just the fin setup. I would say the REVO Max is kind of made a little more for intermediate plus, unless you size it up at the wazoo, like Kevin was saying. Even though I think Kevin's a good surfer, just based on where he lives and what he's saying right now. But if you weren't as good, and if you got a big REVO Max, it would surf more like a longboard. Where I think the Machado Cotto maxes out at 6.0. So for you, what's your weight and height? 6'2". So the Machado Cotto maxes out at 6'2". They might have just added that too. I don't know if that's been there forever. What's your height and weight, Warren? But before this board came out, I would say Machado Cotto was like one of the sickest boards ever. But now that this board's here, if I had to pick for me, gosh, that'd be hard. I might flip a coin or something. He says, thanks for the insight. Looking at the 5'10 Cotto, that's what I've ridden. Like probably 5 or 6 times. I really want to go shorter, have a mid and a longboard already. In a bay in New Zealand, pretty weak often. I'm 181 centimeters and 85 kilograms. You have to forgive me because I'm American and I kind of know what that means. I think 85 kilograms is like 200 pounds. 181 centimeters, I don't know what that means in American. We're dumb over here. We don't want to be like y'all. But if you weigh 200 pounds, I'm 75 kilograms, I think, aka 170 pounds. I can look this up really quick. 181 centimeters. Inches. That didn't even work. Oh, wait. How tall is 181 centimeters to inches? 71 inches. What does that mean? So you're like 6 foot, I think. Oh, 5'9". Okay. Oh, so you're like 5'9". You're kind of like almost my size. I'm like a teeny bit bigger than you even, maybe. Okay, so for you, okay, yeah, just under 6 foot, 190. Okay. So yeah, for you, I think the how many times have you ridden twin fins? You're getting a free consultation here. Let's go. Because the Machado Cotto, the fins that it comes with, is like essentially a twin fin with the keel, with the trailer. I can't say trailer anymore. Trailer. And the Machado fins Raul Machado made for them, I think, are perfect. I've ridden a different trailer in them one time, I think. Or that might have been the sweet potato. But long story short, I would just go with the last few boards FIREWIRE's come out with, the fins they've come out with. To me, they've always been like actually the best. Unless you get the endorphin fins, the Kellys, they do seem to go well in most things. I do have an experiment coming up, hopefully, where I'm going to get a 2-fish and try a bunch of different twin fins, including the Tomo keel ones, because I was talking to the FIREWIRE guys, and we're all kind of realizing maybe the Tomo keel fins are the new sickest twin fins ever, because they're really amazing. Warren said, never ridden twins, recommended the Big Baron but don't want a mid-length. Okay. That would definitely be like another great option. I don't think I've actually ever ridden the Baron, but I know I've seen it heaps, and it's a sick board. I mean, this is pretty much a mid-length, though. I mean, what would you get the 6'3" of this versus the 5'10" Machado Cotto? 'Cause that's what I would suggest. And unless you're looking at the 6'0" of this, which is only 31 liters, which I think for you is too sinky. Actually, even if you're 190, I even think this might be borderline a little too sinky for you. And I wouldn't even mind, you're not going to like this though, but the 6'6" at 40 liters, I think for you would be the go-to. Is 6'6" considered a mid-length to you? Oh, here we go. Mixie's hopping in. He's just giving you what you want. So he went big. Mixie went big too. Warren, you seem to be stuck in mid-lengths are still not cool camp. Mid-lengths are like the thing now. Like you're going to get chicks and like the old dudes are going to think you're cool. So I wouldn't be scared of more board. I mean, the one thing you got to be worried about though, I think is, I talked about this in another video. I kind of got some hate. But say your board's a 7.0, like Mixie's, 5'11", 96 kilograms. Okay, so you're even thicker than him. You're like 2. Okay, so you're like 2, a little over 200. And you're on the 6.0 or the 7.0. And that has 56 liters. So, Warren, you might need to go. Oh, he's a Chad too. Oh, you're in. So Mixie's 51. He's a Chad, and he's fit, and he's Australia. So he's just like surfing Superbank with Mick Fanning and Dingo. So like, maybe listen to him and go a little bigger. Oh, you said no. I have 2 6'6" boards, 7'3" mid, and a 9'3" long board. Okay. I mean, it sounds like you're pretty well geared up and knowledgeable. Earlier you were saying this is your first new board, so I assumed like you only didn't have that many boards, but you seem pretty knowledgeable and you're probably at a skill level ready for it. Miggsy says more like slop Manly. Nice. I've surfed Manly. Long Reef. That's another wave there, right? Or Reef. Something Reef wave, right? In Bondi's near there. Because I've surfed there once. Something Reef. Long Reef Road or something. Yeah, it's definitely kind of beachy and just windy. And it's not the Superbank. And it can't be more crowded than the Superbank. There's no way. Back in my day, I did live on the Gold Coast for a while. And, oh, Longy. It's a quality wave. Sick. Oh, yeah. Sick, yeah. One spot I got really sick was Angari Point. That's a sick wave. That was a once-in-a-lifetime wave for sure. You're kind of by, like, even Lennox Head's kind of down by you. This is like Tomo's stomping grounds. Yeah, so, I mean, Warren, what you're kind of saying, I would even lean towards the 5'10" Machado Cotto then. Because you already have these bigger boards. I'd be scared the 6'3" would be too not enough volume for you. And it's a 6'3". I mean, it's gonna, a 6'3" is still borderline mid-length because the board's marketed as a mid-length. So like when you're riding it, go watch some of Mike Raven has got the board, and like he's around my height, but even he was saying like the board has so much room up here. And even watching videos, it does look more mid-lengthy than it is because it is 6'3". And a lot of us riding these tiny boards now. Miggsy, you have a cool name too. Miggsy. Oh wow, what are these compliments? This is amazing. Miggsy says, love your channel. Thanks, dude. It's really nice of you. I bought the REVO Max because of your sick review. I'm giving you hundreds and hearts. No way, that's sick, dude. Wow, thanks, man. He said he bought it because of my review. It better work or he's going to find me and hurt me because he's in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Wow, well, I'm all about peace. So I gotta just start lifting or just get my fighting stance ready but I don't think I'll have to. Luckily, I think you are gonna like the board a lot. And I'm stoked that you kind of super oversized it because I think a lot of people. That's why it's sold out. I think a lot of people saw the board and were like, kind of like when I bought the Seaside and Beyond. I was like, I almost wanted to get the 7.3 or the 7.2, and then when I got the 7.0, I love it a lot. But it's like, oh, I could almost have went to the bigger version because once you're up and riding, the board works. Like, so really, it's all about just adding paddle power. No, for sure. I appreciate you. Thanks for that compliment. That's really nice of you to say, and thanks for watching. That's so cool. I got like my analytics do say I do have a nice chunk of Australia, New Zealand. So I appreciate you guys. You guys are almost taking over my American audience. Americans like 40%. I think Australia is 25%. New Zealand's like 18% or something. I can even look at it right now. Let's see the analytics on the REVO Max video. So yeah, the REVO Max video is 38% American, 21% Australian. So I got fans in Aussie. I'm frothed because Australia is the best. 4% New Zealand. New Zealand is, I know you guys got beef, but like, you guys are tied because I do love New Zealand as well. But I've spent more time in Australia. I did get a lot of sick waves on the North Island of New Zealand though, and I did surf. What was it? South Island, New Zealand starts at the sea. Warren, you probably know. Super Sharky. I guess it is in Dunedin. One of the breaks in Dunedin, and like on the boardwalk of the beach are monuments of people that got eaten by sharks, like right in the water. And I rented some board, and the water was like 52. I was like doubling up wetsuits. It was hilarious. So I'm like, that was kind of crazy. So Warren says, thanks heaps, mate. Appreciate the chat. You confirmed my choice. Wow, that's nice. It's $1,500 for a board here. Jeez Louise. Hence the hesitation to pull the trigger. Love the longer format vids and info you are providing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I myself also love longer videos, and my goal is to do these longer videos, even though probably 4/5 of people don't like longer videos. I like them, and I know there's an audience. I knew there was an audience for them, and you guys are confirming that, so thank you. Because I do know some of us still have an attention span. I think I'm kind of an old soul, so I'm vibing with you folks. But like my dad's hilarious. My dad's like, I can't watch more than 4 minutes. Like he's already TikTok's brained out, so he's already lost it. But there is a select few of us still that want the longer videos. And as long as my voice can hold up here, then I'm going to keep doing it. But then Migsy says he hasn't tried it yet either, which I'm a little skeptical now. But I'll let you know, legend, your reviews are so sick. I'm too big for the Machado Cotto, which I'm fuming because your review was excellent. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Look, hearts hundreds. No, thanks a lot, man. The Machado Cotto, like I really want to lock that in the quiver. I'm hoping to even get it again at some point, but I definitely need to get either the Machado Cotto, Sweet Potato, or this locked in the quiver soon, because those 3 boards are all sick. And my Port 5.9 mashup is like in this weird spot where it's not as gravelly as I was hoping, not as great in huge sick waves. So it's like I don't want to get rid of it. Thanks, dude. Migsy, appreciate you. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, yeah, St. Clair Dunedin. That was the spot. St. Clair Dunedin. That is where the sharks ate those poor people. And yep, St. Clair. The surf shop's right there. It's a 6 spot. Because I was at Cardrona. There you go. I'm repping. So I drove from Cardrona I was there with my dad. Drove from Cardrona to Dunedin and got a sick day shred. And yeah, the waves were actually pretty fun, but it was like the tide was coming in and it was like a strike mission, and luckily got a couple good ones. I have a video on my channel of me surfing a few waves there, so it was sick. I rented an NSP 6-foot board, NSP, which is like a torque board, but it worked. Thank you, Migsy. Migsy, a legend. Yeah, St. Clair is awesome. It was a cool spot. Yeah, so Warren, I mean, in the end, like, luckily, like, at least with FireWire right now, they've actually reached a spot where it's kind of like buying an Apple product where they hold their value really well, and because they're more durable than a normal PU board, you can actually sell them for not that much lower than you bought it. I don't like selling boards and buying boards and all that. It's like not fun for me at all. So I get it if you don't want to have to do that, but it's a decent option. And I know a lot of people that buy a board and they don't like it and they just sell it, and it's like nothing to them. It's harder for me to like just sell the board right away. I need to get used to the board. It usually takes me months. This one I just got right. The latest FireWire boards, I step on them and I get them right away. So they're doing something right, and my surfing likes the kind of boards they're making. But you can rest easy knowing that they're going to hold their value pretty well. And like, you can look at it like you rented the board for 2 to 3 months and now you're returning the board. Like, that's not a horrible way to look at it, because it's not going to get too many pressure dings because of how it's manufactured. And the boards are still very hyped, and they're kind of like an iPhone where they're pretty popular. FireWire is a big brand. They have Kelly Slater. They have Rob Machado. So they keep their value pretty well. You know, if you bought like just a board from your surf shop, a local board, it's sick, but it's going to be harder to sell because of the brand recognition. And PU versus epoxy. All FireWires, they're all epoxy. They don't make PU surfboards. That's their whole mission. Why FireWire was started was to kind of disrupt the industry that was only making PU and like crappy epoxy boards. But yeah, so hope that helped and made you a little more confident. But I'm gonna say final answer for you, 5'10" Machado Cotto could be sick. Maybe even 6 foot if you're feeling froggy. Let's see. Yeah, I would say 5'10" or 6 foot. Both of those, either of those would be sick. Let's see. Lost my tab. So Warren says, sorry to get you off topic on the REVO. No worries. Now that we're in the chat, we're chatting. I'm happy to help. I've kind of went through all my pros and cons, so now we're in overtime now. Warren says, sorry to get you off topic on the REVO. Fin choice for the Cotto. To stick with the Rob made. Yes. I'll say the board rental idea goes down with the partner. Helped heaps. For sure. For sure. You're welcome. Thank you. And again, like, yeah, try just demoing the board. Like, I know FireWire does demos in America, but surf shops might do it. But I was even saying, if you buy the board, then when you do sell it, you're only losing the amount you would spend maybe to rent a board for a month or something. I know it's an easier way to swallow the mistake if you do make it. But the Machado Cotto, I think, is like it's an easier board to ride. It's more like a sweet potato than the mashup. Very user friendly. But the Rob's fins, they hold really well. And all these fins lately with the models have been like ideal. The only board I ride right now without the FireWire fins, well, I guess I only have the mashup too, but I ride the Naked Viking Surf Comp fins, which are essentially the AM2s, the Almeric fins, which are a pretty pivoty, pretty classic fin that I think goes well on tons of boards. Oh, my fancy light died. OT, that's what happens. But yeah, I'm stoked to see what you do. Because I've ridden the 5'10" a bunch, and whenever I ride it, it's instant stoked. I'm like, this board's sick. I'm like having a blast. Feels great. I love the I might do a Machado Cotto versus Revo video. That could be cool, I think. Unless, no, I did Machado Cotto. I did Revo versus Seaside and Beyond because they're both mid lengths. But if you size up the Machado Cotto, I think they actually do compete a little bit because they're both newer models. The Machado Cotto gravels well, but it can surf in kind of better waves. And I hear some people like it when it gets better. Like that's when it really comes alive. And I can kind of see that too because the extra hold from Rob's fin setup like makes it where it's like it just bottom turns really nice, down the line really nice. Thin tail, it gets really thin, way thinner than the Revo Max tail. Helps you, but it doesn't have the spine and all the quad stuff, so it helps you plane and then pivot, but not necessarily slide out. Where at the mashup, it's like so much pivot that you're just tic-tacking on a skateboard. The Machado Cotto is a lot more like you're riding on a longboard skateboard. The mashup's like you're riding on a 1995 Eric Costin skateboard with like 7.50 deck, and you're just like, oh, like you're tic-tacking and trying to do like, a tray flip to K grind, and you're just like, holy crap, this is like insane. So the Machado Cotto is a lot more friendlier of a shape, and I think compared to the sweet potato, which is another sick groveler, scales up way better. Once it gets too big, the sweet potato turns into mashed potatoes. But the Machado Cotto, it just like lights up and starts getting super sick. But so I was gonna head on out, but I'm gonna just go through one or two more cons of the Revo Max. I did say maybe a teeny bit more liters could be nice. One other con, I wouldn't mind like a few more of the sizes. Like they can almost just go 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". Like maybe they were waiting to see how it did, but they could really start like producing these because to me they're already kind of like selling well. They're getting lots of good feedback. And Tomo's kind of bridging the gap between like his classic Tomo shape, which people are stoked on, with the new obsession with mid lengths that everyone's like really obsessed with. So from their perspective, like they might want to just try to grab more people, and just the more you have to produce more boards, and there's kind of creates more of like an overhead issue if there's too many boards and not enough money to produce the boards. But I think the demand is there, especially with almost two different demographics, like me and Tommy Surfs, and some people might want to have this smaller version, and then 50-plus-year-olds who want a mid-length longboard go for the 7.0. I think the 7.0 is going to be one of the best sellers because I didn't realize it was that maxed out with volume. That's pretty sick. That's actually ridiculous. 53 liters at 7.0. That's way more than any of the other 7.0s I've been seeing lately. So that's insane. But yeah, I didn't have many more cons, y'all. Like that was kind of it. I wish we had more sizes. I don't mind not a third fin or other fin placements because it forces you to ride twin fin, which I actually do like, and then the fins are in the right spot. And that center fin, I mean, maybe it could be nice if it got like massive and you just wanted an extra fin, but it really doesn't seem necessary to me, that center fin. So it was very limited cons, but heaps of pros and reasons why this still is heaps goated 2024 surfboard best of in the world. There, I said it. But if anyone else has anything to chime in, I think I'm going to head out here in a minute. I appreciate everyone for tuning in to another Hero's Journey show. Thank you so much. Much appreciated, y'all. The channel's been doing great. Nice growth. If you guys want to subscribe, I appreciate it. Hit the like button. I might start a members thing at some point, which would just be, I guess, kind of behind a small paywall, but then it can kind of create more of a community. I think I'm already doing that pretty well here. But it's just another way to keep building the YouTubes. You can also donate or leave kind of like donation chats if you feel at all obliged to. I'm not trying to beg for that, but I do appreciate any of that as it helps the channel continue to grow. With the analytics, I'm on a nice little up and up, so it just motivates me more to keep making stuff if people are chiming in, because I really appreciate like when people are in the chat and everyone's talking and providing their kind of wisdom and their experience. Like, this is what it's all about. I think it's pretty cool to like have a sick little community of people that are just love chatting. And I've been on YouTube for a while. I've surfed for a while, and the channel's kind of been about surfing and cameras and just my day-to-day life's a lot. I work in film and video and editing, so it's really fun to be able to like combine kind of everything I do into one channel. And now that it is monetized and it is moving in like a good direction, it is motivating, because for a while there it was just like plugging away and kind of getting nowhere. But now that I kind of cracked the code a little more, I get how you do move in the positive direction. It does require some strategy, etc. You can't just like turn the camera on and start yapping unless you're like maybe a hot chick. Like, you could watch the hot chick, but you guys want to look at this mug all day, so I have to provide some value to you. So one of the rules of YouTube is you must be providing some kind of value. You can't just use it as a therapy session. You can't, you can, but if your channel is going to actually succeed in a successful way via YouTube analytics, providing value is your best bet, and providing value in a niche. And I think my niche is surfing and cameras, so it's fun to be able to, use great Sony cameras and have decent lighting and use my experience as a filmmaker in conjunction with my experience as a surfer. I think it's like a fun mesh of worlds, and I'm super appreciative. So thank you guys again so much. Appreciate it, y'all. But I reckon that is it for another Hero's Journey live stream. Thanks again for tuning in. Till next time. Peace.